Hello everybody, hope you're well. My name is Reza, and in this session I'm going to talk about the rotator cuff group. Rotator cuff group play a very important role in our healthy shoulder joint. This joint has a variety of movements, and by having a very good and stabilized shoulder joint, we are able to do many different movements. In my previous video, I'll talk about the body movements, and especially in the shoulder joint, you notice that there are multiple movements that we can have and we can perform, and by having a proper exercises, we can strengthen those muscles related to this shoulder joint. There are 4 muscles that are part of this group, and each of these muscles, they have their own movement and function. But all these 4 muscles together, they play a very important role in stabilizing our shoulder joint. One of the major things they do is having our upper arm bone, which is the humerus, in place and in the shoulder joint socket. So because all these 4 muscles are going to be attached to the humerus bone on the top, they can hold this bone on place, and we can have all different movements, as you know. I'm going to go through these 4 muscles and I'm going to show you what they do. And it's good to know that most of people may not be very familiar with the movement of these 4 muscles, but it's very important to train them and let these muscles also be developed. So in this case, you have a healthy shoulder joint. Many people may have problem and pain with this joint around the shoulder area, and one of the major reasons could be having problem with one of these 4 muscles. All right, I'm going to start with this big muscle here, which is pretty much bigger than other one, and this is called infraspinatus. Infraspinatus is located on the scapula bone, as you see here, and is going to be attached to the humerus bone. So this is the scapula, and this is the back view. So it's like having your right hand this way, and this is a deltoid. So this infraspinatus is going to be located on the back part of the scapula or the shoulder blade, and it goes all the way to this bone. So the major function of this muscle of infraspinatus is going to be shoulder external rotation. So this movement called shoulder external rotation, as I talked about it on my body movement shoulder joint before, this is the movement of infraspinatus. So external rotation. One of the other things that function that this muscle does is helping or assisting the shoulder horizontal abduction. This movement, if you remember, this is shoulder horizontal abduction. So infraspinatus also assisting the other muscle to do this movement. If I want to just remind you about what muscle can do this one as a target, is going to be the rear deltoid. So this rear deltoid does horizontal abduction, as you see, shoulder horizontal abduction, but this infraspinatus also helping this muscle to do that one. The infraspinatus, partially you can see it because it's covered by the deltoid and also the trapezius. So the trapezius also cover part of these muscles, but you can see a little bit of this muscle if you look at the back. The second muscle that I want to talk about, it part of this muscle group, is going to be supraspinatus. So the supraspinatus is located on top part of the scapula again. So if this is the scapula, this part is going to be supraspinatus, and this supraspinatus goes all the way down and attached to the top part of the humerus bone, which is our upper arm bone. So as you see here, the first one infraspinatus, the second one supraspinatus, they both go and attach to bone. What does the supraspinatus does? This is very important because this is one of the muscles that, based on my experience, most of people who are not having enough strength on this muscle, they get injured. The supraspinatus muscle does shoulder abduction. So this is the shoulder abduction. This muscle initiates this movement from the 0 to 15 degree of the shoulder abduction movement is going to be handled by this supraspinatus, which is underneath of the trapezius. So the rest of the movement will be taken over by deltoid. So from 0 to 15 is going to be supraspinatus. So imagine you are doing the heavy weight for the side raise, as I mentioned. The side raise or the shoulder abduction major target muscle was the middle deltoid. And this middle deltoid is pretty much strong muscle. So, but at the beginning of this movement, it's going to be by supraspinatus, which is a small muscle. So most of people, they don't have enough strength on supra, but they want to lift the heavy weight by deltoid. So this is the part that the supraspinatus start having some issues. So make sure, at the beginning of your workout, make enough, if you're new, don't step into heavy weight right away. Let the other muscles, which are smaller muscles involved in these movements, also become strong. Okay, so I'm going to go through a third muscle, a part of this rotator cuff group, which is the teres minor. The teres minor is located here. As you see, it's very small muscle underneath of the infraspinatus, and is above teres major. I spoke about teres major before, but teres minor is located on the borderline, lateral borderline of the scapula. So if this is the scapula, like that, the teres minor is going to attach to here, and it goes all the way again to the top part of the humerus bone. So because of this attachment and insertion, I can say easily what it does is helping the, again, having the movement of shoulder external rotation. So this external rotation is also part of the movement that one of the other rotator cuff muscles, which is the teres minor, does. So shoulder external rotation is part of the movement. Again, assist in shoulder horizontal abduction is part of the teres minor movement, and also helping the shoulder adduction. So if that was adduction, because of the insertion and attachment of this muscle, also this teres minor is able to have shoulder adduction. So this is shoulder adduction. Again, you may be a little bit, again, confused about, okay, how this is small muscle have different movement. And this is all, as I mentioned before, because of the insertion attachment of these muscles, they may create different movement or assist on some of the movements. Most of these small muscles, they may not be a target muscle, but they are always as a secondary muscle or the synergy muscle involved of the movement. So if I want to go through the fourth muscle, which is the subscapularis muscle, which is located here. This subscapularis is in the front part of the scapula. So this is the back part of the scapula, and this is the front part of the scapula. So this subscapularis is attached here, and it goes again all the way to the humerus bone. If this is the humerus bone from the front part, so this is like front part, the subscapular is attached like that on the shoulder blade bone, and it goes to the top part of the humerus, head of the humerus. So as you see here, this muscle creates different movement, and the major movement that this muscle part of the rotator cuff makes is medial rotation. So shoulder medial rotation is the one that is majorly this muscle creates. So the other muscles of infraspinatus and teres minor, they make an external rotation, but this muscle make medial or internal rotation. So internal rotation, external rotation. But so these are the four muscles of part of the rotator cuff muscle group. Again, I'll go through them quick. Infraspinatus, supraspinatus, teres minor, and subscapularis. So these four muscles are part of the rotator cuff group. Again, I mentioned that they are very important as part of the shoulder joint stabilizers. So having a healthy shoulder joint is very important by having the strong and conditioned rotator cuff muscle group. So here are the four muscles that are part of the rotator cuff group. This is the infraspinatus, this is the supraspinatus. You see here, supra on top, small muscle. This is the teres minor, this one. And this is the subscapularis. So these four muscles, we call them rotator cuff group. Infraspinatus, supraspinatus, teres minor, and subscapularis. As I show you the movements, by having the same movements, you can, strengthen these muscles, strengthen this group, and just beside the other exercises that you do for the bigger muscles, you also must, strengthen this group, so it's not gonna give you the injury, down the road when you're doing the heavier or more intense exercises. All right, I hope you enjoyed these sessions. Thanks for watching it, and good luck.